So now that we've talked about just things to do before furnishing, we're going to go into during furnishing. So how much can I actually expect to spend? I like to talk through this in addition to the time that we use to talk through it during all of your one-on-ones, just so that you can know once that lease is signed, you are going to begin to feel like you are swiping, because for most of you, it's either going to be on credit or you're swiping your business credit or your own credit, or you're using cash. But either way, you are going to start to feel like I am spending so much money. It tends to feel like that only because you are making so many purchases. When you actually add it up, it doesn't come out to be that much. Now, when we're thinking about how much we are going to spend, for most of you, you are looking at getting started with a 1-bedroom, 1-bathroom apartment. I've already mentioned to many of you that at most you are going to need 2 TVs. I typically recommend 1. Starting out, I don't put a TV in the bedroom unless a guest then mentions it and says that it would feel a little better if there was one there. But depending on your niche, they may or may not be spending a ton of time within that unit anyway. So a TV is going to be that major item that you're going to be purchasing, in addition to a couch, maybe a dining table, depending on how large that space is. And of course, that mattress, that bed frame, and maybe even some nightstands. Now, between all of those items, that is going to depend on whether you've chosen economy, standard, or luxury. If you are providing luxury, this to me is screaming that you might be shopping at Ashley Furniture for your mattress or your bed frame. You might be shopping at Wayfair because you can certainly find some luxury items there as well. However, if that is the case, just understand that the prices that we're giving, or the range, is for those that are within that standard category. For those major items, like, again, your bed frame, your mattress, your dining table, couch, et cetera, you should not be spending more than about $2,000. Just because, number one, some of these items, meaning items that are safe and that can be sanitized and purchased from Facebook Marketplace and purchased used, we recommend to purchase used. So for instance, nice side tables, or maybe even a coffee table, those items can be found via Facebook Marketplace, and you can purchase those there. Things like your mattress, that is something that you will likely, I definitely recommend to purchase new. Sheets, purchase new. Nightstands, depending on whether or not you are wanting to go with something luxury, purchase those from Facebook Marketplace, or you can purchase them new, but they shouldn't be more, they shouldn't be breaking the bank in terms of the cost, which is what we are saying. So aside from that, ensure that you are thinking about these smaller items, such as your iron, such as, again, like air fryer, if that's what you want to include within your unit. If you are including bed trays, the smaller items are what really begin to add up more than, I would say, these items like your couch and your mattress. It's the items like curtains, and once you start purchasing portraits, that begin to really add money to the bank. But for the most part, as I mentioned, that $2,000 mark is for 1-bedroom, 1-bathroom. You can certainly furnish at a standard level for about $2,000 to $2,500. As you get into more bedrooms, more bathrooms, et cetera, that is when I tell you to add, at least for each bedroom, about $500 to $700 to that amount that we've already given you. But expect, I would say, about at least $2,500 for your first 1-bedroom unit. Now, Tina, I know that you are in your process of furnishing. Can you tell us, if you're comfortable, of course, but where you are, just like budget, all of that? Did you expect to spend what you've spent, or what was the easiest to purchase? Just your experience with that.
Well, I don't mind sharing kind of specific numbers. So I gave myself $6,000 total to furnish everything. This particular unit, because it was a corporate lease, there was a catch. Like, my deposit is refundable, but it was large, so that was $1,000.
Okay.
So that's that. I leveraged my futon. I already had one. I personally downsized from a 2-bedroom to a 1-bedroom. So I had a futon in that second bedroom. So I leveraged that. I purchased a dining room set. The bed, I went with a king size bed. I got a TV stand. I didn't pay much for my TV. I'm only doing one TV. So those were the biggest I don't owe in this patio set. But I would say I'm still it feels like a lot, but I think everything, it probably came around 4,500. And I had to, there's like a big, like the manufacturers and stuff, like for the washer and dryers, they're on back order because of COVID.
And you also had to buy those yourself, right?
Yeah.
The washer and dryer.
Yep. So I wasn't expecting that cost, but I'm still okay. And because it was supposed to be included in my my rent, they knocked my rent down some, so that helped. So it made sense. So
and that 45 that you said also includes the deposit that you put down.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Perfect. So yes. So right about that amount. And did you say that you were targeting more? Is it more standard with a luxury feel? Where were you at?
Standard with a luxury feel. So it just depends on the item. Some stuff I did get from Wayfair, some stuff just Amazon, Home Goods, but it's a luxury feel for sure.
Okay, perfect. Thank you for sharing that. Okay. So yes, my recommendations is to furnish your unit on a budget. This is what I always say, because even if it's on a budget, you can find, again, items that feel very luxury or give a luxury quality at budget places. Because you have to understand that turnover for these furniture items is extremely high within this industry. I recall after my first unit, when I purchased that couch, and literally less than 12 months later, the couch had to be replaced just based on either a burn mark with leather. Then we went and got a wool one that was kind of woven, and based on just all of the people sitting on it, I guess it started to unweave. So just making sure that you are choosing items that, number one, are of good quality, but number two, that allow you to not break the bank. So these are some of the places that I typically use that have really good quality items, but I'm also able to furnish them, whether that's the couch, the air mattress, et cetera, from these places. So number one, Facebook Marketplace, of course. The material that I found to be the best for the couch is like a strong leather, like not like a pleather, but a leather. And then on top of that, the woven one, what is the Scotch Guard is now one that you can use. Scotch Guard is a spray that you can put on like woven and kind of cloth-like couches, and it'll pretty much add a layer of protection and make it to where you're able to just wipe it off, and any type of residue just rolls right off. So Scotch Guard is that. And that is what I recommend. Any type of liquidation outlets, local liquidation outlets. Savers, Sofa Mania is typically a site for couches that many people do not think about at all. Overstock.com has really good items that are always on sale. So these, like I said, this entire list is within the Facebook group, and you do have access to the notes from this. However, just understand that all of these are places that you are definitely able to get items that are for home goods, or they are items that you can get linen, such as towels and sheets, et cetera, et cetera. So any questions about these? In the Facebook group, we also mention, or I provide, if you are shopping online, Chrome extensions that you can then add to your web browser that are going to make it to where they search the internet for coupon codes every time you go to a checkout page for these websites, so that you can get some of that added discount.
I have a question about couches. And yeah, the answer might be it depends, and that's the case, I understand. But do you suggest couches with pull-out beds or no?
Okay, it depends, but it's only a matter of depending on how large your space is. So a lot of people like to go for a couch with a pull-out bed because they're like, well, okay, it's going to add more people. Like I can probably charge more, right? But understand that, let's say, for instance, you have a 1-bedroom, 1-bathroom, you have the king bed, and then you add that pull-out couch that is now a queen. Just a question for you, Michael, how many people would you say can stay in that unit?
I mean, it's an 800 square feet unit. So I was thinking 3 at the most, like 2, to stay in the bedroom, and maybe 1 other person. And that's where I wasn't sure if I would do a pull-out couch for that 1 other person, or just some sort of air mattress or something like that. But I didn't think about the size of the space to make that decision.
Exactly. Like the size of the space is one that you want to think about, because with 800 square feet, Like, are you going to have enough room within the living room in the way that you want to design it to even pull it out properly?
Right. Okay.
Or would it be your mattress? But yeah, I'm typically always weary of folks adding more spaces to sleep, because it then makes other people feel like, okay, well, we can bring more people. Because I've even had people within my houses state like, okay, well, we see you allow 8, but we're willing to sleep 3 or 4 to a bed. No, you cannot do that. They want to bring more people because now you're saying there's more sleeping space, or it adds more. It's just no. It gets to be a little bit of a mess. However, again, if you are saying that you're targeting, let's say, families, and that room is then for the parents, and then maybe the pullout is for the kids, that would make sense. But you just have to make that clear. Okay. Now, for most of you that have gone with the choice of saying, I want to go standard but with a luxury feel, and even those of you that are not going standard with a luxury feel, I think that these are items that everyone should include within their listing to really just improve the aesthetic, because they're smaller items that don't cost much, but will allow you to really liven up the space. So again, they provide a luxury feel, but without the luxury price. Throw pillows, decor pillows, bed trays. Please don't forget mirrors. That is one that I forgot in one of my listings, and it's something that everybody mentions. It's like, we need a mirror, a full length mirror, not just the bathroom mirror. It's one very easy to forget. Bed trays, like I said, waters within or near each bedroom. That makes, again, just gives a luxury feel like a hotel. Duvet covers, curtains or drapes, faux plants. You can get those from IKEA, any of the stores that we just mentioned on the last slide. They're cheap, but again, they make the space look really good. And then, of course, framed information like Wi-Fi and house rules. When you actually frame that information so that not only do they see it within the messages in Airbnb, but when you get to the house, here's the framed Wi-Fi information, so you don't have to ask me because you didn't read the whole message. Or here's the framed house rules, so that you cannot say you didn't know that you can't smoke in here. You absolutely know. But again, framing that information, and just literally you can find a frame from the dollar store or Walmart, but framing that information just makes it feel better for those guests, because so many people are so used to the hotel experience. And especially now in the era of COVID, we don't have a ton, or hotels aren't even providing the experience they once were. People are now starting to lean a little more on Airbnb for that. And of course, that's not necessarily our job, but if we're saying we want to give a luxury feel, then that's what we're giving. Definitely forgot about the Maritina. See, that's what I'm saying. You don't think about it until you're in the unit. You love the look of plants, but you don't have a green thumb at all. Fake plants are absolutely acceptable. Yes, absolutely. And I personally think they last more, because you don't know what they're doing to your plants in the unit when you're not there.
Exactly. Can I ask one more quick question about the covers, the duvet covers? Mm-hmm. So in other Airbnb groups, I see a lot of debates about doing like duvet covers, doing comforters, or just doing blankets. And the issue with the comforters is that they're too hard to wash after each guest. So do you have any recommendations for the linens? Like, is it okay, as if we just do multiple layers of blankets as opposed to thick comforters?
Absolutely. And it's honestly, I would say it's really based on preference of the guests. Like, there were instances where many, like starting out, we were using fleece blankets and quilts. And it was more so guests that started to come and book our home. And they're like, well, like the blankets are really thin. And in our mind, it's like, well, we're in Atlanta. It's not that cold outside. But that's what they wanted, just because, again, that's what they're used to. So we started implementing duvet covers, but it is a matter of not duvet covers. The actual comforters are very hard to wash. So it wasn't until I actually expanded my cleaning team and we were able to purchase multiple comforters, multiple duvets, that we then started to implement comforters on every single bed. Because at that point, they then take the dirty ones home and then they can flip them. Because the primary debate, and I would love to know y'all's thought process, so feel free to drop it in the chat. But the primary debate that a lot of hosts have is that with duvet covers, well, with COVID, are you guys not washing the comforter? Because usually people go for the duvet cover so that they don't have to wash the comforter. But that's the major debate. Most folks are on the end of you need to be washing it every single time, though there are some hosts who give themselves away and say, we wash the comforter every other time, but we wash the duvet every single time. So crazy, you guys will hear it and you'll start to kind of see it. But yeah, you want to wash everything every single time, especially with just the space that we're in, the pandemic and everything. Wash it every single time. Then that is why we went and opted for the quilts and layering. So I will say that that makes it easier, especially for some of you or those of you that plan to initially clean the units yourselves or what have you. Okay, now just looking at automation once we furnish the unit. So 4 ways that you're able to automate just like the listing, your listings entry and access for either the guests or the cleaners. Number 1, by installing a smart lock or a keypad lock. Excuse me, many of you already know this, but the one that I use and the one that is really, really good, number 1, Quickset, and number 2, Yale, I believe is one where you're able to, if you're willing to spend a little bit more money, you are then able to actually use and provide access via your phone. Now, there are some understanding the difference between like a smart lock versus a keypad lock. A smart lock is the lock that you can actually navigate via Bluetooth and from your phone. Some hosts go this route because you're able to see access and you can revoke it immediately, meaning that if a guest is saying, well, we don't want to leave or we're not leaving until 12 p.m., you revert their access at 11, they can't get back in. And that is what makes it a little safer for hosts. Now, the other end of that is that some people tend to say, well, what if their phones go dead? What if something happens? What if people just don't have a small smartphone to begin with? Then how are they going to enter into the unit? So that's kind of the debate there. I usually I have opted for the keypad lock, though I will say for all of my apartments, we do have a smart lock. So for the houses, we have a keypad lock, meaning they have to enter in a code on the buttons and it'll open. But with the apartments, we actually have a smart lock to where everyone has to have a phone and they have to get access via there. I would not say that I've had many complaints other than people saying we want every single person within our group to have access. And just understanding, and I will let you all know a little bit towards the end, but just understanding that it's really important to know who is entering into your space, because there are people, especially within this time that we're in, that I'm sure you all have heard about, like this moratorium on rent and people not having to pay, people staying and not, it's trickling over into the short-term rental space too. So you just have to be really wary and understand and know who you are providing access to, just so that if things hit the fan, you are able to get those folks out, which is why with the smart lock, my only complaint is that we do not provide access to, if we say there are 8 guests that can access the unit, we're only providing access like codes via the smartphone to 3 of them, because not everyone did a background check. Only the person that booked did. So that is why we do that. So just understand that piece. I see some messages coming through the chat. Quickset. Oh, let me type these for y'all because y'all spelling it all wrong. Quickset and Yale. And then you have smart locks with a keypad on it, on your doors at your home and love them. Access can be with a key code or via phone. Yes, and I like those that provide you with both of those options. Quickset and Yale are those. Slange, I believe, is another one that a lot of folks like. But again, that is one that is on the pricier end, just because I believe it's going to provide access via that phone as well. Number 2, just having that lockbox on site with an extra set of physical keys. This is for each and every one of you. You can make a copy of your key at your local Walmart's like Minute Key kiosk, just making one so that if someone has any issues opening the lock, like the keypad lock, because some people will, you can make it very simple to where you even say, hit these 3 digits, hit unlock. Some people are still not going to understand how to do it. So at that point, I usually then provide them with a physical set of keys. Now, let's say for some of you, you are in an apartment complex. Many people tend to ask, well, how am I supposed to have a lockbox at an apartment complex? This is how many hosts usually work it. Number 1, they're either finding some space along the perimeter of their apartment building prior to actually getting to the apartment. That is where they are leaving the fob and the extra set of keys with that lockbox. The other end, which that's not necessarily one that I recommend, just because this is not very smart. And even trying to have your guests play hide and seek for a lockbox, it just won't go over well. But number two, being able or taking advantage of Amazon's like locker service. So some people know this, some people don't, but Amazon has a locker service typically at your nearest grocery store. So if you are near a grocery store, meaning you are by Publix, I typically believe, by like a Trader Joe's, a Whole Foods, Amazon has lockers, even a UPS. They have lockers. And at that point, if you're wanting a physical set or an extra set of keys, I do recommend for those of you that are at an apartment and you cannot do a lockbox, have a physical set of keys somewhere at like the Amazon locker. That is your next best option, because that is still going to allow the guests to have access and they are still not extremely far from the space in order to get it. You just want a number of, I guess, pieces in place so that you do not have to be the one going to that unit at 3 a.m. when they just got back and they cannot open the door. And then even furthermore than that, the other option you have is to just really build a relationship. For those of you that at an apartment complex, really either build a relationship with someone at your apartment complex, whether that be a neighbor, or even would be willing to pay them, and just have them be that standby person of, hey, if something does happen, I want you to be able to provide those keys. Am I able to call you? That is your other option. And do you have to ask to change the locks at your apartment? If you are at an apartment, yes, I will check your lease just to make sure, and then definitely give them a heads up. But typically it is not an issue. I have not seen it to be much of an issue at many places. And then number three, just designate a closet within your unit that's specifically for cleaners. As you are looking for units, think about this as well. If you are someone who you are not wanting to clean the unit, where is all of your extra toilet paper, paper towels, linens? Where is all of this going to go? You don't just want to leave this out, because guests are definitely going to take it. I will guarantee you that every single time they're going to take it. But make sure that you are designating some closet that at least the cleaners can go to. And that is where they can keep all of the extra items that they need, additional cleaning supplies, etc. Just so that if needed, they can get access themselves, and those physical keys that are to the locked closet are likely within that lockbox that they have access to. For me, some of you may or may not know this, but at the apartments, for instance, with the style of the apartments, it's actually a walk-in open closet. So we did not have the ability to lock the closet for our cleaners. So what we had to do was actually purchase like an industrial tote that we just put in the corner of the closet, and we locked that. And that is where all of our extra linens, in addition to the paper towels, toilet paper, everything is. Just because, again, we leave extras out for guests, but if you leave everything out, they are going to take everything. So with theft in the units, yes, I can. Okay, perfect. So number one, Christine, dealing with theft in the units, you need to make sure, my recommendation is every time if you are hiring cleaners, have your cleaners, once they finish with the cleaning the unit, do a walkthrough video every single time. And upon entering, do a walkthrough video so that you know what you have in the unit. Make sure that your cleaners are well versed on just how many linens you have, meaning towels, sheets, etc. But with dealing with that, with theft, if they steal anything and you find that it's missing, you can charge them via the Airbnb app. So what you'll do is you'll go through, make a request, and we kind of walk through the app next week. But you go through, you make a request, and then at that point, it's not going to just immediately charge their card. The guest has to accept or deny the claim. So if you mention that and they accept it, it just comes out of their account. It's going to be sent to you. If they deny it, it then goes through a process where Airbnb is going to reach out to them. Airbnb will reach out to you and will determine whether or not that will be paid, meaning that rather than the guest paying it, Airbnb is going to pay it. From what I've seen, typically, anytime I have something missing or something damaged, definitely it is very easy to go ahead and get a refund, not a refund, but a reimbursement. Where it starts to get very gray is when house rules are not followed, meaning, oh, they wore shoes on my white carpet, or they had a party and I said no parties. They smoked in the unit when they shouldn't have been smoking. Because there's no technical damage, Airbnb likely typically I will say, denies those claims. Unless, and this is the piece that's really important, we will get into this when we talk reviews. I'm really excited because I just had a guest who left a terrible review and I was able to get it removed by Airbnb. Typically you cannot, but I'll tell you guys about that. But nonetheless, with all of that, in terms of like just stealing with the units, you'll be able to claim that reimbursement through Airbnb. Just make sure that with the details you are listing within your listing description, amenities, etc., even house rules, we're going to go through during week 5 and talk about just the level of detail you need. Because I will say the only reason I was able to get that review removed a couple of weeks ago is because of the detail that I went into within my house rules, and because I had a statement that said, if there's anything wrong during your stay, please reach out to us so that we can remediate it. That guest never reached out and then went and just wrote a review and said nothing. And because of that statement, that is why Airbnb was able to remove it. So it's just smaller pieces of just including things within your house rules that help to just, for excuse my language, cover your ass later on as a host, because you are going to need it. And then sending a pic or a link to the tote, I can definitely do that, Michael. I'll do that once we get through the slides. And then putting a lock on that extra door. Absolutely. The closet door is what I'm assuming you're referring to, Tamerna. Absolutely. I do put a lock on that, like a locked closet door. Okay. Perfect. And then just the last piece of just automating your entry and that access is I do recommend installing a smart thermostat just to manage your bill. People get into the unit and based on their comfort level, they are going to change that thermostat, and it's all right if they change it, but at least with a smart thermostat, you are able to lock it to a certain range. I then decided that this was something that I had to have implemented within every single one of my units. When I walked into one of my units with my cleaners and it was 80 degrees. That was a problem because at that point, the bill then actually, of course, reflected that. And then I walked in one time and it was 50 degrees. And depending on even if it's winter, summer, what have you, people have different levels of comfort. So I like to make sure that it is just within a range that they can actually turn, meaning that it's between about 68 and 75 or 76. And that's what they're able to turn it to. And if it's anything outside of that range, give us a heads up and let us know and we can change it remotely. That just helps to save you energy and then even furthermore save you money down the line with them actually spending that, because smart thermostats even furthermore turn off once no one's in the house. It's going to turn to an eco mode, and it saved me so much money. So those are the 4 ways that I suggest just automating the listing entry, your listing entry and access for both your cleaners and your guests, and just making sure, number one, that you are able to have some type of control remotely. That is what all of these pieces are kind of speaking to or are in place for.